Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, John, back with my newly vaccinated bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm great. I feel so lucky to have been able to sneak in. My husband is a healthcare worker and is going back to work in doctor's offices, so I was able to get in so that he doesn't bring nothing home to me. Ugh.
Yeah, well, that's been my policy with people for years, so that works out.
Keep that to yourself.
I know that. Well, good for you. I know it's just been a few minutes, but you feel anything yet?
It's brand new breaking
Yes.
news. My arm is sore, but
Is
my husband says it's just because I'm a weenie and I don't like needles, so I'll be fine. I will be fine. Thank you very much.
Join the club for that. I haven't had it yet. I'll get it when I get the chance, but they haven't gotten to me yet, so we'll see.
You're an essential worker. I don't understand.
It's not fair, man. It's not fair. I'm on the front lines, baby, handing out those dollar bills at the bank.
Making it rain. I need the vaccine.
With somebody else's money. I know. Well, maybe at some point, I'm sure it'll be soon. Ohio's a little behind as usual, so we shall see. But tonight we've got a living legend. That's what we're going with, because you said it. I didn't. But I always feel weird calling people a living legend because I don't know if they should say you're old as hell or maybe, I don't know. If so, I'm a living legend too. But we have Chuck Carswell with us. Chuck, how are you?
I'm doing great. And if I have to be a living legend, there's nobody better to be a living legend with than you, John.
Oh, there you go. See, for everyone listening,
you guys want me to leave?
Yeah, that's
just wondering.
It's gonna have our bro time starts now.
Yep, exactly.
That's how you kick a podcast off to a good start. Suck up to the host. Let's go. Let's do this. This is good.
Way to roll.
I'm particularly excited because I was just telling you guys this, but I've had several requests to have Chuck on the show. We refer to Chuck as the Chuck Carswell, just to amplify the living legend, but because Chuck is such a staple in the CrossFit community and has sort of been there since the very beginning and has served in so many different roles. And so, people who know about our sport and its history and how we got to where we are today are particularly interested in hearing from you and kind of like what your story is and how you got here. And of course, you're on the front lines leading some of our better, newer initiatives too. So I'm so excited to be able to dive into all of that with you.
Pleasure's all mine, and I appreciate you guys for having me. And if I recall one of our previous conversations, Nikki, I think the reason that I'm referred to as the Chuck Carswell is because I don't have social media. Does that sound accurate?
Why.
Okay,
that's exactly why. We have the hashtag the Chuck Carswell because we can't find you and tag you and shit. So we have to make a hashtag so that we can get this conglomerate of Chuck posts.
Can I complain about that for a second? I've been doing these posts all month. I know you're not on social media, so you don't know I'm doing this. So I do this daily post called Year of Uplift, right?
Okay.
I start every day off on Instagram doing some sort of uplifting post, make people feel good about themselves, whether it's a quote or a profile or whatever. So for February,
before he shits all over everyone else with the memes.
Yeah,
exactly. The memes come later. It was it's like you lift them up and then you tear them down.
Slam them down, right? So for the month of February, I've been celebrating Black History Month and celebrating African Americans in the sport of CrossFit. And so I've been picking people off, and I'm sticking with level 1 coaches, a few athletes, but mostly coaches and affiliate owners, right? People making a difference. And I've asked a few friends for, who do you think I should be recognizing? And like a dozen people like Chuck Carswell. So I'm like, great, I'll go online and I'll research. Dude, there's nothing. It's like you were off the freaking grid. I'm like, you guys are all telling me how famous this guy is. Like, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, this sucks. Not even a photo. I mean,
you'll have to transcribe this entire conversation so that you have something to write later on.
I started calling you Chuck Bin Laden because I couldn't find you.
Hey, let me just tell you, if I were a terrorist or a sniper, this would be the perfect life to live. Just no social media. It's the way to roll.
How do you do it? I don't understand.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
I think, this is probably going to date me, but we did say that we were kind of in the boat together, John. But I think it probably started back with MySpace, believe it or not.
Yes.
Way back. Yeah. For the folks that might be listening to have no idea what that is, just Google it and you might get a reference there. But the point is, I think I had it for a little while, MySpace, and it was just more of a nuisance than anything else. And I think I just went away from social media from that point on. Now, I will tell you that I miss a lot of instant kind of information from especially the community and things like that. But In the early days of CrossFit, when I would reply to emails, my phone number was at the bottom of every email. So literally I get text messages from folks I haven't seen in 3 or 4 or 5 years with sometimes pertinent information. But yeah,
I kind of love that.
kinda until you miss something really, really important. Like you have to wait for somebody to say, "Hey, did you know that CrossFit just signed a CrossFit Games contract with Reebok?" I'm like, "What? Like who said that? Like
said
who did it?"
who?
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, since you've been off the grid, I need to fill you in on the pandemic. So
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
let's go back to last March. It'd be great.
Unfortunately, I'm sure all of that news has found its way via osmosis into Chuck's brain by now.
Well, then too, I travel so much that I would have figured it out in the airport when the TSA told me, "Hey, you need to have something over your face." I got a beard. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Nope.
It doesn't.
Got
I
it.
wish.
Totally covered. I would freaking grow a beard at this point if that is all it took. It would be hard.
You just got the shot. You might now. You never
I
know. It could be a
know.
side
There you
effect.
go.
Ooh, maybe I could make some bearded money.
Maybe.
Well, I will
Bearded lady
definitely
money
need
off of that.
I will need updates if you start growing a beard because of the COVID shot. That's for sure.
I'll what I'll do, I'll like live stream it or whatever. I don't know. I'm also out of touch, Chuck, if it makes you feel better. And in fairness, I don't think that social media has gotten any less stressful since your exodus from MySpace.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear
you're
that.
really not
So,
missing much.
no need to rush back is what you're telling me.
Unless you
Good.
want to check out all of the Chuck Carswell hashtags.
I'm doing okay. I just talked to my daughter. She'll let me know what's going on. So
I think John too, right? Your daughters are your window into the trendy world.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, they're in a different level. Like teenagers are in a different level for internet. Like, I think what I do is like cutting edge and they just shake their heads like, no, Dad, that's Instagram. That's like 10 years ago. Like talking like it's MySpace, Like,
Right.
okay.
Kids don't really use Instagram anymore. That's why we're there, is because we're old as hell.
it's past Snapchat and all that now. There's so many other ones that are out. So
Every once in a while, my oldest will like one of my memes online, and those are the ones I'm proudest of. If my 19-year-old likes it, I'm like, damn it, that was good. That was a good one. Greatest one ever.
pat yourself on the back, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. Well, Chuck, I would love to just start by getting into your like CrossFit history a little bit, because I sort of alluded to this, but you've been in the game for a really long time and you've been with HQ for a really long time and in a million different roles. So can you just kind of start in the beginning and tell us a little bit about how you're like way back then?
Yeah.
Oh God, how you got into it and how your position within the organization has evolved over the years.
So 2006, I did my very first CrossFit workout, and it was Helen, 3 rounds for time, run 400, 21 kettlebell swings, 12 pull-ups. And unfortunately, it was explained to me, I think incorrectly. I had been given a time of something like 14 minutes was where this gentleman had posted his time or whatever. And so they said, yeah, just try to beat that. And so I just basically did the math and said, okay, this is the pace I need to go at. And went through the workout, and while it was challenging, it was not what I thought it was going to be. They were like, it's going to devastate you and all this, and it didn't do that. And so I went back, and I think it was like 2 weeks, maybe a month later, I was scrolling online on CrossFit, and I think I saw one of the OGs. It could have been one of the guys from Canada, or maybe Chris Spieler had done something like a sub 8 minute
right.
Helen. And so obviously I recognized at that moment, like, whoa, this is something totally different. So we started exploring it a little bit more. I was working in a gym at the time, a franchise gym that had a couple of locations, one in Georgia and one in Florida. And we were sending videos back and forth of what we thought were these epic, workouts. And, it's like, try to top this. And we'd send one and they'd try to top it, and we'd send it back and forth. And so they introduced us to CrossFit. And then in 2007, the franchise decided, hey, we should go ahead and check this CrossFit thing out. So July of 2007, I went to my very first CrossFit Level 1 in Jupiter, Florida. And, it was still when all of the classic OGs were running seminars and leading them. And we came back from that, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do. And so that started kind of like my journey to find out more about CrossFit and how I could be more involved. 2008, I went to 2 more level 1s. They came to Atlanta, and I sat in, it was at the gym that I was working at. So it made it super easy for me to just hang out in the background like I was working. And and finally during the workout, Nicole Carroll was like, "Hey, what are you doing here at the level 1 all over again?" And I was like, "I'm just trying to learn, like, it's what I want to do. I think I want to be involved in this." And she goes, "All right, you need to go take the level 2." And I was like, "There's a level 2? Like, who knew?" Like, the website
I'm not on Facebook. I didn't know.
Yeah. And so, not only was it not on social media, but the website back then was, strictly about, hey, here's the workout of the day. And you might see a couple of videos along with it. Like, that was it. And so she's like, "Yeah, I think there's one coming soon on the East Coast up in Virginia Beach." And so I shot up to Virginia Beach and didn't do well, did well enough to walk away with a level 2, and then got invited to an internship. And that kind of started my journey to CrossFit. So
So they had kind of become familiar with you. They were like, "That guy's always here." Like,
yeah,
I don't know what his deal is.
Hey, if you hang around long enough, you either fall into the pool or you empty the pool, one of the two. And I think I fell into the pool. And Nicole was, I got invited, I think, because the odd numbers to work out with the crew at the very end of day workout. And it went well enough. I think it was a team workout that weekend, and I don't like to lose, so I was like, "Come on!" I was cheering my team on and all that stuff. So I guess I got on the radar.
So cool. I think that anyone who's ever been to a level 1 or a level 2, anyone who's ever been to any CrossFit seminar can attest to the energy that the staff brings. It's so special. And I know I sound like I like swim in the Kool-Aid, but I do. So that's fine for me to say. It's like nerding out with your best friends. It's like doing all of the cool. So for them to see that in you, I think speaks volumes to, I don't know how excited you were to be there, how well you took to the programming, and obviously, like, they can see who can go ahead and re-explain, retell, and storytell. It's not just like, "Hey, this is how you squat." It's like, "Let me take you through this weekend so that you are like in it to win it with us." It's a big deal.
I think at that time, this was my third level 1, and you're talking probably May or June of the next year. So, I mean, literally within a year, they had seen me at 3 different opportunities. And here's the thing, back then it wasn't, there's 14, 15 seminars on the East Coast, 14, 15 on the West Coast, let alone outside the US. It was literally 1 or 2 a month on the East Coast, 1 or 2 on the West Coast. And so for this kid to be showing up, probably wasn't a kid back then, but for this guy to be showing up at these seminars, clearly, he's obviously interested and possibly invested in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the initiation. And then, the social aspects we used to have after the level 1 were always fun for me, because it's like, these were people I idolized and they were right here in front of me. So why not spend some time chatting with them, talking with them, and getting to know them? And, I guess I carried enough of a presence at that time for them to be interested at least. So I think it worked well.
You should have told Nicole Carroll, "Listen, I've been to 3 level 1s. That's basically a level 3. Basically.
Yeah. At this point.
Yeah. Why do I need the 2? I've already got the 3. I don't understand.
There probably wasn't even a 3 back then.
I don't know that there was either. I think it was a 2. I think in the way that, if I'm remembering correctly, the way you got your level 2 was you had to volunteer at so many level 1s. Like, that's how you got it,
That was
before I went to take it.
That was before level 2 was coach's prep.
Yeah. So this is back when they used to wear the yellow shirts. I don't know if you've seen photos floating around. There would literally be 15, maybe even more trainers at a level 1. So there were this CrossFit staff, but then there were all these assistant coaches that were around. And I think what was happening is they were being evaluated as they were going through the process. And that's how you received it. So for me to be able to go to a separate location was probably right at the beginning of that, whole, you're going to coach in front of everybody and be tested kind of thing. So,
So then you were living that seminar staff life, and isn't that great? Like, lots of travel, like you're going all over the world. And what was that like?
Well, you're talking 2008, late 2008. I went for an internship at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in South Georgia, Brunswick, Georgia, which is, a stone's throw away from Florida, basically. And I was supposed to be volunteering, like literally just showing up to help out. It was called my internship. And, Coach Glassman at the time, who was still running the program, and Nicole Carroll had some other meetings or stuff they had to do. And so they literally took off and left Adrian Bosman, me, and a couple of other trainers in charge. And so it's like, hey, you're going to be coaching. And I was like, do what? So
what?
I was, trial by fire. So I was
Right.
thrown in and probably didn't do very well, but did well enough to get invited another time. And literally that was my exposure into, the seminar staff. So yeah, it's crazy.
So it was probably, was it just that for like a few years before your roles started to expand?
So that was I want to say that was in August of 2008. And so I think what happened was after that, when I got invited back for one or two more later that year, and I was just a trainer and didn't know enough, was still learning on the fly, and was savvy enough to know that I needed to lean on all the other coaches that were there, and just tried to learn as much as I possibly could and ask questions and literally not be a turd at dinner. Like that was really what I tried to do, just be somebody that they wanted to be around. So that's how it started. And then the travel, obviously at that point it was East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. And so I was getting not all, but quite a few of the East Coast seminars. And then I probably had, again, one or two great moments that got back to the powers that be. And somebody said, hey, let's try to invite him. I don't think I said no to anything for probably 2 years when I first started. Yeah. And so, fortunately I loved it enough and, was willing to travel. My mom used to work for Eastern Airlines back in the day. And I'm used to sitting in the airport for hours at a time with a coat, jacket, and a tie, with my fingers crossed, hoping to get on a flight. And now I show up with a ticket. It's not first class, but I show up with a ticket. And, so it's a different experience. So that was, it was an easy transition for me regarding the travel. So
now, by the time I met you for the first time in 2013, I think, yeah.
It was 12 or 13, one of those.
You were already in your role as the head judge.
Yep.
And so how did that transition kind of happen?
So this is, and I think there's a running theme here, at least in the early days, there was definitely a running theme. You hang around, you do a decent job, somebody recognizes it, and you don't, and when you get promoted, you don't act like a turd when you get to the next level. Like that's like, I think
pretty solid life advice in general. Truly. Just if everyone could take a page out of Chuck's book, please, and not be a turd, that'd be great.
Listen, I use that for all of my daughter's boyfriends. That's how it rolls.
There you go.
You get invited to the dinner table, just don't be a turd, So, so what happened was, I think it was 2009. Yeah, 2009 at the ranch. We're there, and I believe that we had the team events on the side of Dave Castro's ranch right at the barn. And he put John Brown and I in charge of that group over there because we had been making some no reps and all of that stuff. And that's when it started, like literally right there. It was in the spur of the moment, I think, the heat of the moment. Dave is like, hey, you guys go over there. And it was like, all right, cool. We went over and we didn't screw it up. And lo and behold, the next year, a few years later, I'm now, with other head judges under Adrian Bosman as the head judge of my own little regional, essentially. And that's literally how that started. So.
Chuck, you could not pay me enough to be a judge at a professional CrossFit event. Like because you're like, at the elite level, especially when you get into those final heats, like people's careers depend on this. Like their entire sporting history is defined in these moments. It's just too stressful for me. Do you ever feel that?
Of course. I mean, as like over the years, obviously the stress level has increased. I mean, there are people trying to make their living doing CrossFit now, and that's a different animal than people competing at a barbecue, hanging out on the weekend.
100%.
Right? But just like you would any other job or career, you would put forth the effort to make sure you understood and knew all the standards, requirements, and all of that, and that you fully explain those appropriately to the people that are going to be competing. And then once we have an understanding of what we're looking for, you kind of know what we're not looking for. And if we get anything other than what we're looking for, it's not going to work. And it's like those clear lines of demarcation, to me, sort of set you up for good success. And so being a jerk as a judge, or, you know, an asshole, whatever they want to call you, all goes back to what did we all understand prior to this thing kicking off? And now that it's kicked off, let's just revert back to what we originally talked about. And I think if that's the scenario, you kind of minimize and squash a lot of the angst and anger that can come. It doesn't minimize all of it, but it definitely makes it a little bit more palatable when you have to address it. So
I'm always so impressed by you and by Boz and Todd and all the other guys who are, Eric, like everyone, you guys are just so zen about the whole scenario all the time. And, you know, you've got these volunteers under you and like everyone's freaking out all the time and there's complaints and whatever. And I'm like, wow, these guys are, they're just like breathing through it. They're going to get us all through it. You know how like when the plane is shaking and you look at the flight attendant and they're okay, then you're okay. But I'm like at an event that like something's getting heated and I look over at Chuck and Chuck's okay. I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Totally
Well, keep in mind that, you know, the head of the CrossFit Games is a former Navy SEAL. So, you know, it's like we can manage what we've got going on. So, yeah. But I agree with you. I think that, you know, leadership is obviously a big deal. And if people are looking to leadership for the response, then, you know, to some level, we kind of have to have our shit together. And I think that, you know, obviously the preparation, the planning and the discussions and the what ifs, all of that stuff gets handled beforehand more times than not. And so we kind of minimize any opportunity for there to be those major upheavals, you know, at least from our standpoint. Now, athletes, because they're competing and trying to win, are always going to have those upheavals. But, you know, again, if we can keep a level head, sometimes, you know, cooler heads will prevail if we have dotted our I's and crossed our T's.
What are the major differences you see between those original athletes you saw coming through and like kind of the, I hate to call them the modern day athletes, but I'm OG enough to remember like Rich's first year winning the games and even the people before him. And, you know, I think of, you know, a lot of the people you've named, even like the Chris Spieler, who were the heroes to me when I started. And now I look at him compared to some of, you know, even, I hate to call them middle tier athletes, but some of these middle tier athletes now would have been winning the games back then. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, like just what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. So clearly, you know, we're at, you know, to some level, we're advancing human performance. And so we expect year after year, these performances to be, you know, increased. And I think you see that played out in some of the workouts that Dave challenges these athletes with to show them how far we've come. And so what do I see in terms of that? I just see performances that match the growth of the program. You know, we're now, you know, if you're talking 2007, the first, where we, you know, 14 years into this thing now, you know, you should, I think that math is right? Yeah. 14.
That
17,
sounds
20.
right.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So we're 14 years in. And so the training tolerance for a lot of these athletes is even greater because as a pool of athletes, everybody's getting better. And as long as we see athletes continuing to improve, you're going to see performances continue to go through the roof and seemingly, you know, dwarf past performances. But I think if we would have had a deeper pool of athletes earlier on, you might have seen some of those athletes push themselves, challenge themselves, train more frequently, and even dial in their nutrition a little more way back when. But it's impressive to see. And I think what's happening is the distance between the traditional classic, hey, I'm just going to the gym CrossFitter, and what is considered our top tier games athletes, that distance is growing, but the box and what's happening in it is growing also. I just think that those elite level athletes have just reached a place that's almost, you know, unable to be comprehended by normal us mere mortals, you know. And I mean, I have literally one of everything. I got a muscle up, I got a pistol, I got all of that stuff. But, you know, stringing together 29, 30 in a row muscle ups is just something you wouldn't have thought of seeing years ago. So clearly the performance is excelling. And I think that the dedication sport from those guys too is not only as committed as it was before, but the resources and the available outside assistance that they can get just makes that process so much easier, you know? So
Yeah.
You-
You know what I would also add to that is the mentality of the athletes themselves, that they are athletes
Yeah.
and that this is a
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I first started working for CrossFit HQ at these events, like these athletes just got good at fitnessing in their garages.
Mhm.
Like nobody knew or thought of themselves as a full-on athlete. Nobody understood that they needed to do post-heat interviews and put a camera in their face, and they were like, what the what? Like, I just
Yeah.
am 21 years old and like to work out with my friends in my garage. Leave me alone. Like it was completely different. And
Yeah.
now there's an entire, you know, little society, a little ecosystem around the sport with, you know, people who are sponsoring them and fans who want to hear from them. They understand their responsibilities as athletes. So it's grown twofold, not only in the skill set, but also in the little world around it.
Yeah, the legitimacy of the sport is increasing dramatically, and obviously in large part, it's not only to do with what's happening at the box level, but it's what's happening at the games. Like these athletes are making it known that, hey, this is something you need to check out. You need to find out what's going on with these athletes. So,
Well, and it's advancing so quick. Like I was at a teen event earlier in the year, or
Right.
like back in the fall, and I was watching these 16, 17-year-old girls. They did the same deadlift ladder that was probably like the 2009 games, maybe, or whatever year it
Okay.
was. And these 16-year-old girls are lifting more weight than the people that were winning. The
Yeah.
men, they were lifting more than the men. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy. Like when you think about it. And so now I'm thinking, you know, you get these young women out here, you know, snatching over 200 pounds at 16, 17 years old. Like, what's this sport going to look like, you know, 4 or 5 years from now when they hit their 20s and start competing at the games? It's going to be really insane.
They're not
Yeah.
human. They are cyborgs. I am
maybe.
convinced. I'm
Maybe.
convinced. Gotta be it.
I think if you go back and you look at some of the top performers that we had in the early days, some of them were athletes from other sports, no question.
Yeah.
So they had the drive and the understanding that, hey, to be really good at this, you got to put in the work, you got to refine your technique and all that. Now what's happening is athletes have had 6 or 7 years worth of CrossFit before they even turn 20, like that kind of thing. And like that's been unheard of up until the last few years. And so now you've got kids that are performing all of these sports where they're learning their bodies, moving through space. And on top of that, you attach a CrossFit program to it, and they realize they can compete in CrossFit, probably most of them, far longer than they would in their sport. You know, I just think that the level of athlete we're going to continue to see is just going to continue to blow our minds and push that marker of what is possible even further out.
So cool.
Yeah,
It's so
it's a cool time to be a part of the program. That's for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of, so you, at this point in the Chuck Carswell career, you've done the level 1 thing, you're doing the coaching and the judging thing, and all that's happening simultaneously, right? So like, what is your life up until, let's say, like the big changes that we saw when sanctionals came and then COVID came? Like, what has your life looked like? Because you travel every weekend on a seminar, and then, you know, we had regionals 3 times. What was going on?
I was in a lobby of a hotel back in 2009, and I was having the same conversation with one of my good buddies, Pat Sherwood, and he said, you know, we live our lives in airports and hotels. Like literally, that is the life we live. And you know, I signed up for it. There was no question. I'd had a couple of jobs before I got this one. Some of them were pretty good. Some of them were horrible. And this is not one of those bad jobs. And so getting on a plane every weekend is kind of something that I look forward to do the work. Now, here's the other thing. Make no mistake, traveling is hard. You know, you get canceled flights, stuck in cities and all that stuff. But I also live in one of the best cities to travel from, Atlanta, Georgia. Like where else, you know, if you're trying to go nonstop, Atlanta is definitely one of those cities that you want to live in. So so it makes it a lot easier. And once you learn the airport and, you know, what train to get on and not get on, it makes it a lot easier. So
what terminals have the good food, all that good stuff. For sure.
So I literally probably up until this past year with COVID, I probably was working 40 to 47 seminars a year. So gone quite a lot. And weekdays was spent sitting at the computer some and things of that nature. But yeah, now it's a little different. So maybe not quite as much on the road, way more seminars in Atlanta,
Yep.
Haven't pulled out my passport in a long time. So, it's a little different now, but still just as fun.
So are you from Atlanta?
Yeah, born and raised. I've got 12 relatives around here too, and I think everybody else is transplant to Atlanta.
Yep.
So,
All right. So I'm originally from Mississippi, born and raised, and but I've lived in Ohio for 25 years, which is why I don't have much of a Southern accent. But you don't have an excuse, man. You still live there. So
no,
what the hell? Where's your Southern accent?
My dad, my aunts, my dad's sister, my aunt was a school teacher, and I think somewhere along the line she forced it out of me, that sort of thing. So yeah, and I had a couple of good teachers along the way, I think, and might have had one or two speech classes in high school, and maybe one in college. So there's been some preparation. And my mother is a Southern girl for sure. She's from a little bit further north of the city, but yeah, she made me rephrase things and challenge me quite.
So Nikki just had her first grits experience a few weeks ago.
Okay, first time ever.
Yes.
And it's not. I learned I didn't season it.
She didn't do it right.
I didn't know. I didn't do it right. So I would do it again.
Okay.
100%.
So you definitely have to have probably a quarter to a half stick of butter.
See, that's what I said.
I didn't know that.
Thank you.
It just tasted like plain oatmeal, and I was like, "What the fuck is the fuss about?"
Not oatmeal. Nope, not oatmeal.
Yeah.
Two different animals. Yeah,
it's because she didn't put butter in it. I was so annoyed. No butter.
I didn't know. I haven't been back to Cracker Barrel since.
Oh yeah. So, and you can also ask or make a request for your grits to be to your liking. So if you want something like that, they can bring the butter. If you prefer to have a little bit more hot water on the side, so they're not as cakey, you can do that. Like you can. Yeah, you can tailor make those things, man. Yeah, you need to go back and
experience to my liking.
I think the grits experience needs to be done with someone from the South. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, well, all y'all go get your vaccines, and then we can have a post-COVID grits experience together, please. We'll bring in Haley. Haley Adams told us she wants to be a part of this already.
That's cool. Yeah,
we'll do it all together.
Let's see if you grow a beard first, and then we'll determine whether or not we. Okay.
I'll be your benchmark. Well, truly, if I grow a beard, are you going to want it more? Just bring it in a little thicker.
Yes. Probably. Yeah. If you could change the color of this one, then we'd be all set.
We can just ferment that before our grits trip together if you really want.
Yeah, been down that road. Not my favorite.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So this past year has been weird for you then. I mean, it's been weird for all of us, obviously. Understatement of the year. I instantly take back sounding so casual about that. But just travel wise, I know it's been hard for me, and I travel, for CrossFit events a handful of times a year. Has it been kind of nice being stuck at home, or are you antsy and you miss it? Where are you in that spectrum?
I think I was doing okay. I think the rest of the people that live in my house were a little antsy. They wanted me out. I was messing up their weekend plans. It's like they usually hit the road and are out till the hours, till the sun's coming up, kind of thing. And so I think I messed up their groove. But I must say that the first time I wish I could remember exactly where I went, but the first time I had to travel again, I want to tell you that I probably rechecked my bag, my gear, my equipment probably 6 times, just because I knew for a fact I was leaving something, just one of those things. You haven't done it in a while. So you pack the night before, you check before you go to bed, you wake up, you check, even though your flight's not till 4 or 5 o'clock. So I was constantly, double checking that. But the other thing is the airports are empty right now.
Yeah.
And so it makes it really easy if you have all of the, your passes and all that stuff to be able to get through there. So I was probably not as antsy as the folks in my house, but once it, the travel opened up a little bit more, it did kind of get a bit challenging, but not antsy. So yeah, Atlanta's again a good city to have seminars. So when I'm not exactly sure how they choose which cities they're going to, but I got to know that obviously if COVID is a challenge and the travel to some cities is kind of restricted, the place that they're going to go is probably in the South and probably to major cities where people can get,
Yeah.
And so I've been very fortunate that, we've done some seminars here in Georgia and in Alabama too. So.
Cool.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, it does. I get it. I totally get it. It's just a big transition, and we've been through we've been through so much as a community too in the last couple
Yeah.
of years. And I know that you've sort of been on the forefront of the implementation of the scholarship program, especially recently. We had a chance to talk about it a little bit back in October when feels like forever ago.
Yeah, right.
When we did that very short interview for the CrossFit Games Stage 1 pre-show. And I've had a load of requests from people ever since then to get you back to talk a little bit more about that too, because, you know, John was a huge proponent of it and pushing the diversity aspect of the big discussions we were having around CrossFit. So it's exciting for me to have both of you on this show to kind of meld your minds on it. To tell us just, you know, how you've been involved and what it's been like for you.
Well, 2020 in many aspects, I probably wanted to bag it up, put it in the back of a car and drive it off a bridge, you know, that kind of thing. But out of 2020 came some pretty incredible things that did happen too. And so I think we've got to kind of not throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know?
Totally.
But being on the front edge of this thing has been really cool. The CrossFit Scholarship Program is an initiative that we came up with to do two things. Number one, provide access to communities, underserved communities that normally wouldn't have access to this training, and then number two, to see if we couldn't reach out to some folks that might become great coaches in the future. Mm-hmm. Like literally, we are exposing kids to the CrossFit Level 1 seminar and giving them every opportunity that if they want to, they can become trainers out of this program. And so the initiative started right here in Atlanta, which was really cool because the gentleman that we partnered with, well, let me back up. We partner primarily with nonprofits, organizations, or groups that actually work with kids. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that the communities that we're serving actually have a long-standing track record of doing right by the kids that they're working with. And so we partner with those guys to provide a 2-day level 1 course for them, where we literally tailor make it based on who the kids are. And so the ages range from about 14 to 18. And we can't go any lower than that, but occasionally we can make a slight adjustment if they can be vetted properly. And literally what we do is the 2-day course that, hey, here's a way for you to be involved in an activity that will not only change your life, but anybody's life that you involve in it. And also give them an opportunity to literally become a trainer, that if they want to go down that road, this is an avenue that you could provide for not only yourself, but potentially for your family, if you are willing to go down the road. And so we hand walk them through the 2-day course and give them the opportunity to be exposed to all things CrossFit that all of us, you know, and the tens of thousands of CrossFit trainers worldwide have not only gone through, but some of them have started their training, and many of them have gone on to open their own business because of it. And for these kids to have that opportunity at 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, I don't think we're going to know for years what this can potentially be or what it's going to become, but it's going to be pretty powerful, no question.
What's it like when you are with them and you see them and like, do they get excited about it? Like,
so we've done it. We've done only 3 of the CrossFit Scholarship Program so far because COVID has kind of screwed us up and made us reschedule quite a few of them. But we did one in Atlanta. We went to Portland, Oregon, and then we circled back and hit Nashville. And the very first one that we did, the kids had no knowledge prior to us getting with Atlanta Leadership Club with John Jarrett. They had no experience with that. And so what we did was we trained those kids at the gym that they were going to go to the level 1 for a month and gave them enough exposure so that when they showed up with the level 1, they kind of had some insight. Fortunately, most of the kids that actually went through the program were already athletes at their schools. So they were football players, basketball players, that sort of thing. And so instantly what we did was we morphed the entire program to not only talk about you living your life outside the walls of the gym, but how it's going to benefit you in terms of your sport. And fortunately, all of the coaches that we had there had previous sports experience. You know, I was football, we had some basketball, like, you know, we had all of the sports that these athletes were in. So it's absolutely incredible because we have a good bit of information that we need to get through, but we've taken the test off of the 2 days at the very end so we can literally talk to the kids about anything and everything that they want to. And we don't have to worry so much about the full agenda that we hold at the level one. We can pause for a minute and take an additional 7 minutes because the kid's like, hey, I wrestle. I don't play basketball or football. How is this going to help me? So to me, that is probably one of the best decisions we made as a group, was not testing the kids right away. Because it did two things. Number one, it didn't set them up for failure. Hey, I'm just introduced to this program and now I got to sit for an hour test.
Yep.
And then on top of that, it allows us to morph the weekend to fit the kids that are sitting right in front of us. And so we've been in Atlanta. Those kids didn't have hardly any exposure. When we went to Portland, Oregon, the kids had been involved for quite some time in the program. And then when we went to Nashville, the kids were already doing CrossFit. And so, we've had 3 different groups of kids, all of them considered underserved or the kids that we wanted to target. And it's been literally 3 different audiences every single time we've went. And so it's been a tremendous learning experience for us, but exciting.
That's so cool. I just feel like even knowledge aside, and the knowledge of our sport is so incredibly important and fundamental to all aspects of life, including sport and outside of that. But I feel like anyone who's played sports as a kid will know, like, when you have coaches and teachers and mentors who are invested in you in one way, shape, or form, it just goes so far beyond even the knowledge they give you. Like, just the support and it's like my heart is like warm at you guys being there with these kids.
So let's bring it back to what we were talking about earlier when you mentioned that, hey, this guy's shown up 3 times and,
right.
They must have recognized. So that kind of environment is literally what we're trying to duplicate there. And so, we're kids are tough, man. And you have to earn the right to be with them, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so, we try to meet them at their level and create an environment that, number one, is going to be safe. And number 2 is going to be conducive for them to be able to speak up if they want to and not have to do it a particular way. They can just go ahead and get it off their chest. And then it's up to us how we want to deal with it and how we want to, adjust going forward. So it's been absolutely incredible. And most of the trainers that are on the level 1 scholarship program staff have gone through the kids program. So they already have kind of like a skill set of dealing with kids. And most of them that are on the training staff have had some portion of their life that was upended or challenged. So they are the perfect choices for being in front of the kids that we serve.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
How's the feedback been from the community at large, just in the program?
Yeah, so the feedback has been overwhelming. We get, the first time that, after we had launched the thing, I think we got something like 1,500 emails. Like, I've been, pulling what little hair I can grow on the sides out, trying to sort through them. But, most people are either wanting to go to the scholarship program, or wanting to serve and help, or they have a nonprofit club or group. And so they want to try to be a part of it. And it's like, we want to do all of those things, but we've got to get beyond this COVID thing as much as we can. We haven't gone outside the US yet. I've got a potential opportunity in Canada and just got off the phone today with Ed Morrison about possibly getting to Australia at some point. And so, the growth and the potential is limitless. And I think it's going to be a really cool program. And we're still just, at the tip of the spear of this thing. So
I think of all the good it does on so many levels. I mean, for one, from the business side, incredibly smart move for the business to start, growing new coaches from the very bottom. You get people interested in the sport, or, I hate to keep calling it a sport. You get them interested in CrossFit early on and encourage them to become coaches, owners, like deeply involved in the community. You can't help but grow your business. On the personal side, I think of, you're out there helping, kids in underrepresented communities. Like, I keep hearing the dumb argument, and I'm gonna call it dumb because it's straight up dumb, that CrossFit is free. Why do we need to give it away more? And while CrossFit is free, and it's one thing I love about CrossFit forever, it's, it's always been on the main site. The equipment's not free. The resources are not free. The coaching is not free. Right. And to find these young men and women that won't have that opportunity, and to essentially, for a lot of them, you're giving them a career, and for the record, a really good one. Like in my opinion, like, I mean, I've been involved in CrossFit for over 10 years. I'm in banking. So I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what a good business looks like. And CrossFit, when done right, kind of prints money. Like it's a really good business, and it's a business where you're saving lives. Like you really are. And, so I just think of all the good this is doing across so many levels. Like I can't imagine anybody looking at this and not going, man, this is a tremendous, not only opportunity, but just a great goodwill gesture. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think outside looking in, there's people for years have looked at this program from outside looking in, and they've had their kind of their responses where, this sucks, that part's hard, and it's dangerous and all that crap. And it's like, clearly when you hear that, it's a lack of knowledge and understanding of what the program is. Because, most of us are trying to get our parents, if they're still around, involved, our grandparents, like that's and so because we understand it, it makes it a whole lot easier for us to have a perspective and a shift that is drastically different from those outside looking in. I agree with you. From a business standpoint, this makes all the sense in the world, no question. But from a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective, you want to talk about having it, you've got to go out and make that thing happen. It's just not going to come through osmosis. And while in the past, I think that, CrossFit has been available, we haven't directly targeted specific areas. And now that's what we're doing. And, to go along with the gyms that are in some of these communities, we're trying to piggyback, help, and try to support what's happening there. There's somebody that's got to service these kids when this level 1 is over. And that's where the affiliates are coming in along with their nonprofits, is to help, mentor these kids going forward and to make sure that they still get the exposure that they need. Last thing I'm going to tell you about this is that, we took the test off to make it appropriate for the kids so they can be successful.
Yeah.
But the workaround with that is that when a kid is ready, they can email me directly and we will get them into a comped level 1 after that's over, where if they want to become a trainer, they can literally go and sit in the traditional level 1, if you will, and take that course and pass that test and knock that thing out. And so, I just, it's again, another way we're doing all the right things for all the right reasons for all the right people.
Chuck with the follow through. Look at that.
Yeah, well,
woo!
I've worked with kids in the past, and I ran the Bankhead Courts Community Center here in Atlanta, which is a spot where quite a few of the rappers are from, and T.I., who is a big rapper here in Atlanta, was just starting back at the time when we were there. But the one thing that troubled me was programs that wanted to come in and do stuff, but wouldn't somehow circle back to kind of help us along the way. Yeah. And I just, fortunately had support that we weren't going to do that. So that's really exciting.
The thing for me that's, I hate to say it's troubled me, but it has troubled me some, of the community at large has been, well, if large groups of people or, a diverse community wanted to do CrossFit, they would go do it. And my argument has always been, like, I work for a bank and we have internships. Like, people, like, we don't wait for people to go, I'd really like to do banking. That looks exciting. Like, we don't do that. And we have an internship for young kids, and we bring them in and we teach them banking, and we hope they like it and they stick with us, and I view this exactly like that. It's basically an internship. You're giving them an opportunity to see if you like it. It's going to be at no cost to you. We're not going to pay you to do it, but it's no cost to you. And if you like it, stick it out. You're going to have a career. And, in today's environment, I think we lose sight that apprenticeships is still a very viable career source for people. And it's just, it's so impressive to me that you guys are doing this and growing this part of the business, because I think it really is the future of CrossFit.
Yeah. Exposure, opportunity, and mentorship. With those 3 things in place, man, that I think that, that this program is it's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future. And I haven't even revealed the multiple layers that, are on down the road that we can do with this thing. You get your level 1, you go to the CrossFit Scholarship Program, you circle back, take the test, get your level 1, start coaching. There is opportunity for you here. There's a door open. It may not be available to everybody, but there's a door open that we can help mentor you through it and get you, and get your feet underneath you, so that worst case scenario, you decide you want to go own your own business. You've got access to some of the best coaches worldwide. It's just limitless, man. It's just crazy.
Okay, Chuck, idea for you.
All right, go for it.
When COVID is less of a thing and these are happening more often and all over the country and hopefully all over the world, you got to bring me to one of them, and we'll do interviews with the kids and make them feel like straight up like games athletes, and put together some like awesome media around like, you're here. How did it feel? Tell me what it was like. You just did your first workout. Like, what are your goals? Tell me everything. We'll make it epic for them.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yes.
Sign me
So
up.
there are 2 videos that are out already that we've done, and you've probably seen one of them for sure.
Love them.
The one where we did it in Atlanta, and then, Why Are We Here? The one we did in Nashville. But I would love to do a game style.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right.
With the slow-mo footage, and it'll be awesome.
Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the invite, Nikki.
Well, and John will meme the hell out of it. Like, I didn't even need to say it out loud.
You didn't invite me. I hope you have an allergic reaction to your shot. That's what I hope.
I grew a beard because
I hope you grow a hand out of your forehead. That's what I
love
hope.
Love it.
It's gonna look real weird on our next podcast.
Yeah,
it'll be great.
Yeah, it's good times.
Oh, I love it. Chuck, thanks so much for coming on and chatting with us. This has been really fun.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and to wrap John into this one's good times too.
Hey, I say all the time, there's nothing I like better about this podcast than when we get someone on that's been in CrossFit for longer than 10 years. Like, I love it. Like, it's so
cool.
Oh, it's always people that can remember what it was like before nanos just have a different experience with the CrossFit.
Yeah. I think the real question is, did you have Vibram 5 fingers?
Are you kidding me? There's no way. When it comes to wear a thong between my toes, I can only do between 2 toes. So that's kind of how I roll.
I'm the same way. I never had them either, but I remember when they were all the rage.
Yeah.
The real OGs wore Converse. That's what,
that's correct.
Yeah, of course.
Or Innovates. Maybe,
Innovates in the beginning.
Yeah. The Chuck Taylor was a staple of mine for sure. No question.
I remember distinctly, I started in 2011. I remember distinctly watching this girl. It was a small gym, and this girl and her boyfriend were working out, and they're both wearing Converse, and they're doing rebounding box jumps. And I thought I'd entered the 5th level of hell. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this girl's lifting more weight than I've seen in my life. I didn't understand that these big rubber bumpers were what they were. I thought she was lifting like 600 pounds, I'm like, why is this girl so strong and why am I so weak? It's so bad.
I need to go in, but I need to go in disguise for sure.
Yeah. Exactly. It was the best. Well, Chuck, thank you. It's certainly a pleasure. And especially thank you for what you're doing with the scholarship program. I sincerely mean that. Like, that's, everything I've seen on it, and obviously hearing what you're talking about, is doing so much good work for the community and for these kids. There's nothing I like better than seeing kids that are successful. I may send mine to you so you can fix them. My 2
good
kids,
luck, brother. If you send yours to me, I'm sending mine to you.
Okay.
But mine are in their 20s though.
Well, I might hit you up for some boyfriend advice then. So we have one of those floating around now. So I might need some boyfriend advice, but
copy that. I can help you with that.
No, it's good.
It'll be effective.
He's working out at my house now, and I'm putting him through CrossFit workout. So because I'm not one of those dads that's going to bring a shotgun around, but I am bringing an assault bike around, and that's just as good. So
There you
just
go.
as scary, just as threatening. For
Anything
sure.
to bring the walls down is what you want, and the assault bike or the rogue bike will do it for you. That's for sure.
Here's the workout I did to him this week. It was great. This is the best, and then we'll wrap it up on this. But I love talking about workouts. So he came over with Meg, and we did this workout. It was every minute on the minute. First minute you did. First 2 minutes relatively light. First minute you do 10 dumbbell snatches. Second minute you do goblet squats. And then third minute, you do max rep burpees for 7 rounds.
Oh,
right. It was 7 rounds of that, right?
Like 21 minutes.
Yeah. So you basically get 1 minute of rest between each one though, right? Once you finish your third round of your max rep burpees, you get 1 minute of rest and then you repeat. This kid, to his credit, did 130 burpees in 7 rounds. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
impressed. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to flex a little and say I did 151. So I'm
There
feeling
you go.
good.
Oh shit.
Yes, I'm feeling good. But I held
Okay.
over 20 burpees around, but I mean, low key killing myself to make sure my daughter's boyfriend didn't beat me.
Was there a minute of rest or anything?
Yeah. I wanted to do 7 minutes of burpees because I figured that might
Okay.
come up in the
Yeah.
open. Right. So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, we'll take 1 minute rest in between, but it'll be
Oh,
7
you did do
rounds.
1 minute of rest in between.
Mm-mm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but you get a
Mm.
full minute of burpees as hard as you can go,
Yeah.
after doing snatches and goblet squats. So your heart rate's up,
Gonna
There you
throw
go.
up.
And
Yeah.
this, to his credit, this kid did good. And when he's over, I'm like right near death, like about to die. And he's like, "Oh, that was nice. That was good. I like that." I'm like, "I hate you. Like, I really."
That's not a
hate you."
good sign. So,
Yeah.
so let me tell you what you've got to do. You've got to change the movements then, because clearly burpees are in his wheelhouse. You got to make it
Yeah.
something a little bit more challenging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And keep writing down the scores too. So as long as you're still ahead, you definitely want to write those down. The other ones, high five, chest bump, and walk away.
Yeah, I continue to stay ahead. The difference is, 17 and 8-year-old recover almost immediately. A 50-year-old, like it's been 3 days now, I'm still not fully recovered. Still a little sore, still a little in pain.
You're in bed, Dad. Are you
Yeah.
okay?
Hey, we're just making it work. We're just setting it up for the next opportunity. That's all.
That's
it is.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. All right, guys. Well, thanks again, Chuck, for being on. We really appreciate it. And Nikki, go grow that hand out of your forehead. Make sure you're
Got
okay
you.
tonight. Make
You're
sure.
welcome.
Yeah. Make sure.
Thanks
Matt
for having me,
checks
guys.
on you. Yeah. Thanks, Chuck. We appreciate it. For
See you on
everyone
the
listening,
leaderboard.
for everyone listening, we appreciate you guys being with us tonight, and we will chat with you guys soon.